The story skips forward 2 weeks where a group, including Utterson, is visiting Dr. Jekyll's house for dinner. Utterson makes sure to stay behind after everyone else has left, and this we are told is nothing new. Utterson is well liked and often his hosts try to keep him late, talking after others have departed. Utterson reminds Jekyll of the will he has in his possession and how much he disapproves of it. Jekyll laughs him off and tries to change the subject, but when Utterson mentions that he's been gathering information about Hyde, Jekyll grows pale and his face changes. He becomes sharp and tells Utterson he is in a very strange and difficult situation that cannot be fixed by talking. Utterson begs him to come clean, promising to help him, but Jekyll says that, though he appreciates the offer, it really isn't that serious a situation, and promises Utterson that should he wish, he could be rid of Hyde at a moment's notice. Utterson takes his word on this, but before he leaves, Jekyll asks him to help Hyde if Jekyll himself is taken away. Utterson, while saying he can't pretend to ever be able to like Hyde, agrees to Jekyll's request. The chapter opens with the description of a terrible crime that has shaken London to its core, because the victim is a wealthy and high-status individual. The details of the case are related through the only eyewitness, a maid who was sitting at her window at the time the crime took place. We learn that there was a full moon and it was almost unnaturally bright. The maid saw a very handsome gentleman walking one way on the street, and towards him a smaller man. They came together and spoke under her window. The handsome gentleman, who we are told had white hair, was very polite to the smaller man, and it appears that a request for directions was made. The maid watched the fine gentleman and admired him as he spoke. She then recognised the second man as Mr. Hyde. She also noticed that Mr. Hyde held a heavy cane in his hand. She reports that Hyde did not speak a word in return to the gentleman, but in a rage clubbed him with the cane and proceeded to beat him to death. She fainted, and when she woke, called the police, by which time Hyde had escaped. When the scene was investigated, some gold was found upon the victim, and a letter addressed to Mr. Utterson, as well as half of the stick Hyde had been carrying. The letter is taken to Utterson that morning, and once he opens it, he refuses to say another word until he has seen the body. Once he has, he identifies the victim as Sir Danvers Carew, a well-to-do gentleman. Realising how much of a fuss will be created, the police ask Utterson if he can help in finding the culprit, at which point Utterson is shown the half of the cane and recognises it as Jekyll's. Utterson takes the police to Hyde's address in Soho, but Hyde is nowhere to be seen. His landlady says that he had returned very late and left again. There was nothing strange in it, she said, because he had very peculiar habits. It is also at this stage that we learn how much Hyde stands to inherit should anything happen to Jekyll. £250,000, an incredible amount of money in the 19th century, let alone today. When Utterson and the police look around Hyde's rooms, they notice that everything has been decorated and furnished in very good taste, but also that the place has been recently ransacked. Pockets in clothes are turned inside out, and the charred remains of a chequebook lie in the fire. The other half of the cane is found behind a door. The policeman is delighted and says all they will have to do is wait at the bank for Hyde to try to make a withdrawal, and they will have their man. The only difficulty is that so very few people have seen Hyde's face, they're not sure they would be able to recognise him when he entered the bank. In fact, the only thing that people who have seen Hyde agree on is the feeling of evil, disgust and revulsion that he inspires in them.